Exclusive breastfeeding for the first 6 months, as well as continue complementary breastfeeding for 2 years of the child's life. Basi Taipang, NTA News.
And joining us live in the studio to speak more on Breastfeeding Week is the Director, Family Health, Federal Ministry of Health, Dr. Salma Ibrahim Anaskolo. It's a pleasure to have you join us on NTA International News at 7.
Thank you very much, Abdul Malik.
Right, now let's start with the theme of this year, which says Celebration Breastfeeding for a Healthier Planet. What informed this theme to start with?
Yes, just as it says, breastfeeding for a healthier climate. Breastfeeding contributes significantly to a healthier climate because when you breastfeed exclusively, you promote healthy environment because you don't use any artificial method of feeding. You use the naturally available, readily available breast milk to feed the baby. And then you don't pollute the environment in the sense that you don't have to boil water, you don't have to boil the food, you don't have to use any form of fuel to prepare the milk for the baby. And then it does not also include any transportations of any items or use of any utensils that you need to wash. So exclusive breastfeeding and breastfeeding of the baby for the 6 months of life without any additional milk or anything is recommended for mothers. And also continue to breastfeed for another 2 years. And then after 6 months, you introduce complementary feeding. So this is the only way we can protect, promote, and also support breastfeeding for healthy babies, for development of the babies. Babies that are breastfed surely are more intelligent than babies that are not breastfed. So we strongly recommend breastfeeding of babies. As soon as they are born, within the first 1 hour of birth, every mother should initiate breastfeeding. That is the most important part of it because the first drop of the breast milk that comes, that is the colostrum, it contains a lot of antibiotics and it boosts the immunity of babies. So we encourage all mothers, irrespective of their status, irrespective of even COVID, we are in a COVID pandemic at the moment, irrespective of COVID, mothers are encouraged to exclusively breastfeed their babies for the first 6 months of life. But if a mother is suspected to be COVID positive or positive with COVID, the mother is encouraged to observe all the protective and preventive measures.
All right, I like the fact that you're talking about COVID now because we're still going to get to COVID and having to know what the impact might possibly be and the effect at this time of the moment. Now, it's advisable, as you talked about, having to breastfeed, one's ward and all of that because cognitive reasoning, agility and strength and all of that. Now, baby-friendly is very much important. What is Nigerian situation in this regard?
Yes, Nigeria, we have been promoting baby-friendly hospital initiative and now baby-friendly initiative for the past 20 years and above. The whole idea is to ensure that work environment are also baby-friendly. It provides a conducive and enabling environment for mothers or working mothers to be able to breastfeed their babies even at workplaces. Crèches should be made available at workplaces. We also encourage baby-friendly initiative in the hospitals. This has been known for over 20 years, where no bottles should be used to feed babies. No artificial formulas should be used, except medically indicated. All mothers should use the breast milk, which is naturally and readily available at the right temperature, in the right composition, in the right amount, because it promotes the health of the babies. It also takes care of the baby, prevents all kinds of respiratory tract infections. It protects babies against having all kinds of diarrheal diseases. So the benefit is not only to the baby, but also to the mother. Research has shown that, and this is evidence-based, that mothers that breastfeed their babies exclusively for 6 months and continue for up to 2 years, they are found to be much, much healthier.
Okay. I like the fact that you're talking about all of this now. Before we talk about this COVID-19 period, now they're lactating mothers, before you get to start lactating and all of that. Some say at that period when you've just been given birth to, they do that practice of giving the baby maybe formula or at that particular point in time, just before the mother gets to lactate. Now take this simultaneously along. what has been the effect of exclusive breastfeeding, looking at the times we are in right now, talking about COVID-19 pandemic?
The impact, of course, of exclusive breastfeeding, as I said earlier, it benefits the baby, for healthy survival of the baby, for healthy growth of the baby, and for development of the baby, especially the brain development. It benefits the mother also. Mothers that are known to breastfeed also have lower cases of cardiac problems, that is heart problems, diabetes, and cancers. And also for the generality of the society. And today we are talking even about the planet. It promotes the planet. So one can say now with the pandemic, because
right.
there's a lot of anxieties that mothers that are exposed or suspected to be COVID positive or infected with COVID should not breastfeed.
Right.
It is wrong. What we promote is mothers should continue to breastfeed their babies.
Regardless
but they must
positive.
observe preventive measures.
Right.
They must observe all the preventive measures. Wash their hands, sanitize their hands, protect their face with the face cover or the mask, and make sure before they do that and they continue to breastfeed their babies. We've had mothers during this time of the COVID that are COVID positive, and they continue to exclusively breastfeed their babies.
Right.
It has not shown transmission, evidence transmission from the breast milk to the baby, with the observation of all the preventive measures.
All right, Dr. Salma, before I allow you go, they say behind every successful man, you have a woman. No, the reverse is the case now. I assume for a successful woman now who is breastfeeding, what's the role of a man, as regards exclusive breastfeeding?
The man is a strong supporter.
Right.
To the mother. And then we also support and then continue to encourage greater involvement of men, as advocates, as strong supporters for women, as strong mobilizers, to ensure that babies are exclusively breastfed within the first 6 months of life. And it doesn't stop after 6 months. Mothers should continue to breastfeed for babies up to 2 years, and even beyond if they want to continue. Right. But remember that they have to introduce complementary feeding after 6 months, and then continue with breastfeeding and the complementary feeding. So, of course, just like what you've said, men plays a very significant role. And at this point, I would like to also mention that men as policy makers, as religious leaders, as right. community leaders, they have a very significant role to play. And they are already playing that role in some communities. But we want them to see that we want them to be more proactive in encouraging breastfeeding, and they have a role in providing the right policy environment, legislative environment. They have a very significant role also in providing enabling environment, privacy, especially in workplaces, in marketplaces, where women can step aside and isolate themselves to be able to breastfeed their babies wherever they are.
All right, Dr. Salma Ibrahim Anaskolo, many thanks for coming on the news at 7 and for sharing your insights.
Thank you very much.
All right, now to global update on COVID-19. Russia set to approve a vaccine against COVID-19 by the 8th August and a mass vaccination program against COVID-19 from October. Now, let's join Uche Ugochukwu for details.
Russia says it is on track to become the first to approve a vaccine against COVID-19. The country's health minister on Saturday said it would seek to roll out a mass vaccination program in the country from October after expected approval by August. A new track and trace method has been pioneered by a team of engineers and scientists in the Spanish city of Valencia. It involves collecting human waste in seaways and testing those samples for traces of COVID-19. Still on curbing the spread of COVID-19, South Korea has arrested the leader of a religious sect linked to the country's largest coronavirus outbreak. The authorities accused him of hiding information about the group's members and gatherings from contact tracers, an allegation the church members described as untrue. The country now has cumulative 14,336 coronavirus cases. India has reported more than 57,000 new coronavirus cases in 24 hours, bringing the total number of infections to 1,722,159. While many people in the UK can now leave their homes and return to work, other lockdown measures will not be eased due to rising infection rates in England. The African continent now has a sum of 933,363 confirmed cases of COVID-19, out of which 584,875 patients have recovered. From this figure, Nigeria recorded 43,151 total positive cases and 879 deaths, having recorded 464 new cases reported from 16 states, including the FCT, as at Friday, 31st July 2020. The global tally on Wodomita coronavirus dashboard as at 6:45 Nigerian time puts total infection at 17,886,004. Recoveries 11,248,299 and 685,519 deaths. That's it from here. I am Uche Ugochukwu. Eid Mubarak.
Many thanks, Uche, and Eid Mubarak as well. Now, Nigerian women have been urged to embrace the new normal as the world continues to battle with coronavirus pandemic by ensuring adequate preventive measures are not compromised at the home front. Correspondent Obiangelu Goke reports that this formed part of the thrust of presentation at a conference tagged the role of excellent women in a season as this.
With the hike in cases of coronavirus across Nigeria, thousands of lives have been affected. Hence, the need to support governments through humanitarian response to suppress the transmission of the virus. Excellent Women International, in partnership with the Ministry of Women Affairs and NAPTIP, is contributing its quota through the provision of humanitarian care to women and children. This time, the organization is bringing together women from different parts of Nigeria to sensitize and educate them on how to discharge their duties effectively to ensure safety during this period.
When you come to a home, you find that the mothers are the builders of their homes and they are the formers of the broken walls. So when you gather women like this, you make them understand whom they are and why they should stop these ills from their homes.
So I specifically advise women that in a time like this, they should extend that love and care to neighbors around.
Maintaining good hygiene, protecting children from rape, and how to maintain a healthy lifestyle were identified as tools to overcome the era of the pandemic.
During the pandemic, we were locked down, we're still working. So we see ourselves more productive at our workplace when we work out. Just it elevates your mood, makes me more alive.
Positioning the child for safety is very, very important.
In complementing the efforts of government, the group is also set to establish a care center for victims of rape and sexual violence. The women were drawn from Rivers, Lagos, Adamawa, and Anambra states. Obiageli Ugoke, NTA News.
You're watching the news on NTA International, live from Abuja, the nation's capital. We'll go on a break. When we come back, there'll be more news. Do stay tuned. Many thanks for staying tuned. Now, acquiring skills, mentorship, and leading by example are criteria for any leader to succeed. This was the submission of participants at the Nigerian Prize for Leadership 3rd National Leadership Dialogue Series with the theme Rethinking Leadership Focus on Competence, Governance, and Impact on the Society. Aman Jabani was part of a webinar and now report.
The third dialogue series, which has Professor Jerry Gana, Professor Oye Odidapo Obi, Amina Ayibola, and Denelson Akpan, has panelists centered on what is required and expected of a leader to succeed.
Nothing happens without leadership. If you get your leadership qualities right, the good leaders can get good things done quickly. It is possible. It can be done. Most of our leaders don't have forbearance. They can't start anything that's negative. They are all agitated. They don't want anybody to think they are the best of everything. No, you cannot be a leader.
But foresight and the ability to motivate, are often inherent. But character, can be developed.
We also need partners, who will help in identifying leaders among us and grooming them to take over, leadership positions from their various constituencies.
Partners and participants, while contributing, asked, why is it that those that can lead and change the face of the country were never given the opportunity, adding that those who can lead are not ready to put up their reputation and life on the line for the country.
The leader should not wait until he is in the position of leadership before trying to find out what he wants to be or what he wants to achieve.
A 25-action plan was agreed upon, and they include:
a merit-based system is important in our leadership renaissance process, and we must borrow a leaf from the likes of Martin Luther King Jr. and the late Dr. Nelson Mandela for real change to happen in our nation's leadership.
The 4th Nigerian Prize for Leadership National Leadership Dialogue Series comes up on the 28th of August 2020. Hamman Jabani, NTA News.
And to the Center of Excellence, stringent measures activated by the federal government at nation's airport to contain the spread of coronavirus pandemic have been described as world-class. Some Nigerians who arrived from the United States of America made the observation at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, Lagos. Michael Olale reports that 390 Nigerians returned via Ethiopia Airlines.
Among the U.S. returnees is a businessman, Nduka Ode, whose short trip to the United States for a business transaction turned out to be an endless journey due to the coronavirus pandemic.
Well, it's not good, business is affected, you can't see family and friends, but I think the greatest thing is the effect on business.
Like other returnees who came back through the special evacuation service, Ujusi Okwama shared his experience this way.
I wouldn't have been here unless I had a private jet. So this evacuation flight is a very, very commendable development. I applaud the government for that.
The returnees were properly screened by the officials of the airport authority in accordance with the COVID-19 preventive measures. This is the 5th evacuation flight from the United States to Nigeria, while the necessary approvals have been given for the 6th and 7th evacuation flights later this month. In Lagos, Michael Olale, NTA News.
And from aviation to security matters, the Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal Sadiq Baba Abubakar, says the war against terrorism and elimination of other security challenges must be achieved in line with rules of engagement. The Chief of Air Staff, represented by the Chief of Policy and Planning, Nigerian Air Force Headquarters, Abuja, Air Vice Marshal Oladayo Isiaka Amo, stated this during an Eid al-Kabir luncheon with troops of Air Task Force Command Operations Lafia Dole in Maiduguri. Abubakar Mohammed Musa report.
It has been a tradition for Air Marshal Sadiq Baba Abubakar to host troops on the front line to a luncheon during religious festivities like Eid al-Kabir since he assumed duty as Chief of Air Staff, towards giving them a sense of belonging as well as to boost their morale for optimum performance in the theater. Congratulating the airmen and women for a prosperous Eid al-Kabir celebration, the Chief of Air Staff charged troops to sustain the winning momentum against Boko Haram insurgents while exhibiting high level of professionalism in their operations.
We can assure you that the Nigerian Air Force and the ground troops and Nigeria Army, they are working round the clock to ensure that everybody go about his normal business in peace. And all these problems will soon be a thing of the past, by God's grace.
Air Task Force Commander Operation Lafia Dole, Air Vice Marshal Precious Amadi, acknowledged the series of support being extended to personnel by the Chief of Air Staff, describing it as the driving force behind the successes achieved so far and assured to remain defensive on the front line. In Maiduguri, Abubakar Mohammed Musa, NTA News.
And to cheering news, President Muhammadu Buhari has sent warm felicitation to Olumide Apata on his election as the president of the Nigerian Bar Association, wishing him every success in charting a path of professional development and fulfillment for lawyers in the country. President Muhammadu Buhari thanks and taxed Apata's vast knowledge and experience in litigation, corporate world, and engaging with government at different levels will greatly benefit the bar and indeed all Nigerians in the modern democracy. He assures the new leadership of the NBA of the continued cooperation of his administration in addressing the broad range of challenges and opportunities facing the legal profession and the country. In a similar development, President Muhammadu Buhari is rejoicing with former Minister of Health, Prince Julius Adelusi Adelui, on his 80th birthday. In a personally signed letter, the president described Prince Adelusi as an accomplished pharmacist, a lawyer, and a boardroom player whose life is one signposted by many achievements that inspire the young generation to noble ideals. President Muhammadu Buhari joins family, friends, associates, and professional colleagues of the octogenarian to wish him long life and greater strength and impact on the country and across the all walks of life. And sports update is next.
Reactions have continued to trail the transfer of Super Eagles striker Victor Osimhen from Lille to Serie A side Napoli.